morning. Hey, I'm glad you're here this morning. After all these storms, power outages, trees down, we survived. Yes. Oh, boy. Well, and our hearts go out to those that are still stuck or can't get out, or, and we can pray for them too. And also for those recovering from this. It's a good morning. It's a beautiful day in Bentry, and I'm sure glad you're here. I'm going to start the program. We'll go into our regular meeting information, and then we'll have Lori Forrester come up to talk about the habitat, about the lake and streams, river, and more good stuff for you. So let me start here. So first, our mission, which is always front foremost, living in Bentry is a privilege, which includes the responsibility to care for the natural world around us. Therefore, Lake and Wildlife works to preserve the natural beauty and wildlife of Bentry by encouraging Bentry community and all residents to be good stewards of our natural resources. And what we focus on is monitoring, educating, and volunteering, which we all do. Our agenda today, we have our welcome of new partners, the board liaison report, which will be great today to have, committee reports, treasurer's report, and then, of course, Lori's presentation on the Upper Etowah Alliance and Adopt a Stream program, after which we will adjourn. All right. Our board report, which we normally have every meeting, and today I'm going to have Michael Kahn come up and give us some information about the board and information about someone else who's recently joined the board who's with us today. So this is very interesting. Michael, come on up.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Okay, it's been 7 months. What have y'all done to Harold? He's disappeared faster than Joe Biden after a debate. We wish Harold the best in his new adventure in Tennessee. I know he's glad to be back home. So let's get to business. I'll give you a board recap from our July meeting. The first thing we discussed was the private pass referral program. We have passed an initiative to try and bring in some additional revenue for golf. And that's the private pass program. And it's $5,000 for a family and $2,500 for a single. Or if I got that backwards. Or is it $5,000 and $7,500? I think it's 25 and 5. Okay, you're shaking your head no.
Is that the referral fee?
No. That's the private pass program. There is a $500 referral program and a gift certificate that you can use anywhere from your dues to restaurant to golf, anything. So if you refer somebody to the program, you'll be getting a $500 gift certificate. $5,700 is the program. I see people waving already. Kenny back there. This is what happens when you take a 7-month leave of absence from the liaison. The second thing we approved on the board was a purchase of a vehicle for housekeeping. I think everyone probably is familiar with Peaches and the job she does maintaining 12 properties for us. I'm kind of embarrassed to acknowledge that that's an old vehicle that doesn't even have heat or air. So we have decided that we need to replace that vehicle for her. Third, and not last, but the food and beverage issue. So we had a small uproar when they give you a short background because I don't want to spend a lot of time up here. The board had reached a point where we needed to do something about our operations at food and beverage. We felt we had exhausted all opportunities, and we looked to bring in a professional outside maintenance company to manage the food and beverage for us. If you were here a couple of weeks ago, you see that didn't go over very well. We were faced with what are the other options? And we were very fortunate that Teree Darby stepped up with her restaurant background experience and says, I'll take this on. So Teree is going to take on the management of the food and beverage operation for us. She's got extensive background in that, and she has gone about it with vigor. So I think you will see some changes. She had a little email out there, and I do my best to stay off social media posting. I'm involved in reading it every day, but I made a statement, and it's true. It's going to be up now to the community to support the tavern going forward. So I hope you will take that into account. We've had a pretty rough go the last year or two, and we feel like this is a great opportunity to turn that around. So what have we been doing? Well, as I referenced Harold disappearing on us, we had an opening for a board seat, and we had 5 applicants. One brand new, Mr. Warren there, stepped up, and we appreciate that. Very difficult decision. We interviewed the candidates, and we have selected this young lady right here. If she'll stand up so she can introduce yourself. I don't think she's a stranger here. This is Sandra Stewart. And she has become the latest volunteer on the board. And she's been here about a year and came out swinging and got involved in a number of issues and committees, just like Lake and Wildlife. So we are very happy to have her join us. A couple of last little bits here. The next thing that's really coming up that's on the agenda is the Meet the Candidates for our elections. That will be a week from tomorrow, August 11th, here at 2 o'clock. We have 4 applicants applying for the 3 positions. And, when I volunteered to be vice president, I thought it was just kind of like our current vice president. You don't really do anything. Well, they seem to drop more and more responsibility on me. So Meet the Candidates is now falling under my responsibility. So we have set up a procedure on how we're going to do this. We got the honorable and distinguished Mr. Glenn Harris will be asking the questions that we prepared for the candidates. And I wanted to try and keep this into like an hour and a half because that's generally where you'll start losing audience interest. So there'll be a series of 5 questions that all the candidates will answer. And then we have 8 questions that are randomly drawn, a number out, and they will have 2 questions that they will have to answer. It's an informal process, but it's kind of nerve-wracking when you sit up there and have to answer it in front of the community. But the goal there is to, as I sent out a cover letter to them, is present yourself to the community on why you want to run and be on the board. What can you do to help your community? So hopefully that will translate into not just resumes. I've eliminated, I don't want people up here running through their resume. Those are all available to be read in the Echo. Show us your personality. It's kind of like I tell my son when he's going on a job interview. Let him see who you are. Show him your personality, what your goals are, what your desires, what you think you can do to help Bent Tree. So I encourage everybody to please attend that next Sunday. Tying into that will be the annual meeting. I know this is a little ways off. It's the second Sunday in October. It's where we announce the results of the election. I did want to mention on the Meet the Candidates on the 11th, the 13th approximately will be mailing out ballots. And this will be done through, the voting will be done through Votegrity again. It's our second year. It went very well last year. There will also be the ability to do paper and proxies. But we're trying to move towards at least the 20th century, maybe not 21st, with online voting. As I mentioned, the annual meeting will be second week of October. We'll announce the elections. We are also, I wanted to mention to you, so it doesn't come as a surprise, but it'll be announced. We voted on the board to change the allocation of, everything's spelled out in the CC&Rs of where monies come in from assessments and how they're allocated. Currently, 80% goes towards water and 20% on road widening. And we've elected to change that to 50-50. 50% going to the water and 50% going to road improvements. Probably wasn't very popular when we increased the quarterly water compliance fee, but that has allowed us to generate revenue for the water so we can lower the 80% to 50% allocation in the assessments. We are also on track to double. We pave every other year, And we're on track to be able to do that every other year, but double the dollar amounts by making these changes. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the CC&F that we passed last year. That is basically a $2,500 fee for new home purchases. To date, we have raised $92,500 on new home sales, of which $23,000 was used for the striping of the roads. This is a fantastic program that doesn't affect your pocketbooks, and you can see we've got 5 additional closings set up for August already, another $12,500. This is the board's work to try and increase our revenues, not out of the community's pocketbook. So it's been a very, very successful program so far. And in conclusion, I just want to tell you, I'm very proud to be representing you on the board, and we appreciate your support. We don't all agree on everything, but we're all moving in the right direction, and we're all part of this community. And what I do want to ask you is please vote in the upcoming election. These are the people that represent us in the community. Thank you.
Michael, is Sandra going to be our liaison?
She will be the liaison. I'm sorry, I should have said that.
Great.
This will be the last time y'all see me.
Oh, no.
We know where you live.
We hope not, Michael.
I set the bar low for you, Sam.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Really, really happy. Sandra's worked with us at Lake and Wildlife. She's helped us on stream monitoring. She's helped us with the macros. Her distinguished brother is behind her, David, who is a
Distinguished.
and helped introduce her to us at Lake and Wildlife and Streams. And, you know, this is really great. This is really great. And she also helped us at Youth Fest do Meet the Creek and helped us with the kids. She loves playing with kids. Not too many, though. So we're really happy to have you as our liaison, Sandra. And welcome and thank you. And how about another hand for Sandra? That's great. Thank you. I'm going to move along now. Michael, thank you. You know, you've done a lot for us and appreciate everything else that you've done for us and will continue to do for us.
Absolutely.
And you know, when you need support, when you need help,
Absolutely.
you come bang.
But I'm getting paid for it.
That big salary. I don't know. It's working, Dara.
Oh, okay, it's working.
Guess what? Batteries work. Thank you, though. Thank you. Just to run through some quick committee reports, communications, Friday and Wednesday news. Dara, that's what you do.
Has anybody been noticing the Wildlife Wednesday? You getting that on social media?
Yes.
So that's what the Wednesday news is referring to. If you have any suggestions for that, if they're too long, too short, not in depth, the topics, let me know so we can make adjustments on those going forward. And the Friday news, I would also like to say too that I know sometimes when people, like an email comes out from public safety or something, somebody will screenshot it and put it on Nextdoor or put it on Facebook, like in case you hadn't seen this. So I would love when for the meetings that we have, like today's meeting, somebody, please feel free, that we can't say it too much, to take what's in Friday news, and if you're active on Facebook, put it on Facebook. You know, take that opportunity to put it in your own words or to screenshot the topic and encourage the community on Facebook and your friends on Facebook to participate in our meetings. So just to help get the word out, because I'm always hearing people say, we don't know what Lake and Wildlife is doing. So y'all are, you know, the folks that are here most regularly, help me get the word out. Take the information that you know and share it across social media. And if 2 or 3 people do it or 8 people do it, great. I mean, I don't think we can communicate too much about the meetings and the programs. So I just wanted to ask for support in that way, putting it out on social media. Okay.
Thanks, Tara. There's a lot of work that goes into those, and thank you.
Those Wildlife Wednesdays, yeah, they're fun to write. I've learned a lot.
Just for project and maintenance, Kevin O'Brien currently manages that at this point. We're working on the administrative building down below that pad to get into the lower level so that we can get in for storage for Tamarack treasures. Trails, we'll get to that with Mason, who's here today. Special events, Luann and Robert are off internationally traveling this last couple of weeks. And so thank you, Susan, thank you for all the coffee this morning, the donuts that you had to do. You did a good job, thank you. The fish fry went off well, and of course we had more than we thought of, and everybody enjoyed it. So I just think that's about it for right now for special events. Trails, Mason, do you want to make a few comments on the trails?
Just a couple quick things. I've been working on improving some of the trails. I put mulch down on the start of the Beaver Run Trail to get everybody past the heavily rooted area. So it's a lot more easy walking right now than it was in the past through that first stretch of the trail. Likewise, up on Chestnut Cove, the trail that descended from the parking lot down to the actual trails that are in the woods was not really well defined at all. And I lined that with logs and got that mulch all the way from the parking lot down to the stairway. And I'm working on the orange trail. I've got the white trail has been blazed, the yellow trail has been completely blazed. The orange trail is blazed and well defined from the bottom to the top, but not from the top to the bottom. And I'm still working on that. I ran out of blazes. I got to get a few more to finish that off. And also that one's going to take a little bit of time because we got to establish a footpath across the top of the mountain to get back down to the bottom. And that's going to require some moving of old dead logs and rocks and that kind of thing, and even establishing a footpath through that part of the trail. But there's quite a bit of work to do on that. These storms don't help. I'm going to be down at Beaver Run after this meeting to finish up a cleanup that I started the other day. Anybody wants to come down? It's probably almost done. At this point, what's left is the top of the tree and the creek that I got to get out of the creek. And other than that, that's pretty much the status of where we're at on trails.
Thanks, Mason. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the work you're doing out there. This is our treasurer's report, year to date through July. Our beginning balance, the first of the year was $11,064. Revenue year to date, $17,652. Large part of that was Tamarack Treasures, as you know, $9,000. Expenditures year to date, $15,759. So we have a healthy ending balance in the bank, $12,957. So we're good. We're positive. And again, our mission this year is don't spend it till you have it. So we continue to accumulate it, and then we'll parcel out the projects as we can afford them. Upcoming September, we'll have a Bent Tree Wildlife update on wildlife and what's going on here, along with perhaps some view of the deer survey, and Elden's going to have that and handle that for us, which will be a very good meeting. October dredging options for Bent Tree. Paul Salisky from Tigris will be here. He's the gentleman who did the evaluation of the lake for sediment and his company, and he's going to be here to talk about what are the dredging options that would be the best for the Bent Tree. What are the options? What would they cost? What would he recommend? I think it'd be a very educational session to be at. November, whiskey making in Bent Tree and the surrounding area. That will be, of course, our favorite historian, Chris Felt, who will speak about that. In December, of course, Jim Pryor will give his annual report as to what's gone on in BTCI and around us. BentTreeLakeandWildlife@gmail.com. Just let us know what you feel, what you think, you want news, information, what we can do better. Just let us know. Now, the next slide. Elden.
Can I make a
You betcha.
wildlife announcement?
Mm-hmm.
The hiking club event for August is the event on Lake Tamarack. It's called the Sunset Float. That's Tuesday, August the 20th. And meet at the beach at about 7:30. We will launch by 8 o'clock. It's weather permitting. And that's high tide, so everything. So, anyway, if you have a kayak, a boat, a cube, anything that floats, you're welcome to participate. It's just a fun event. And so grab whatever you have and join us. That's Tuesday, August the 20th. And as far as wildlife, it's plentiful and they're healthy, so everything is good.
That's great. Thanks, Elden. Appreciate it. I almost missed that slide. The fishery, fish and streams, lakes. Huff, you got a couple comments about our trees?
I think Brian, when you went to the.
Yeah.
Probably saw on the Ventry community page and also the Ventry fishing page, where Lake and Wildlife volunteers, many of them sitting right here in this audience, put together 100 artificial Christmas trees. They're made out of stainless steel. They have a 3-prong on the bottom that goes into the silk. We got plenty of that. And then a concrete block above it to anchor it down. And then each branch is pulled out and all the needles are pulled out. And on the top is a small float to make sure it stays upright. We put out 5 in a circle in 20 areas. And that's what was recommended by the biologists who said that we still need more habitat in our lake. We put them in 15, anywhere from 10 to 20 feet of water, which is what was recommended. I had a map. I said put a map on the page as well. A little hard to tell, but you should be able to see a lot of them because of that orange float. Quite often they're just maybe that far under the top of the tree. They're 8 feet tall, so what you're looking at is 8 to 10 to 15 feet probably. The clear water, you can see it pretty well. Most of the areas that we put them out in were areas that were identified by the biologists who brought a boat in with me, and we had a forward-facing sonar, which is one of the sophisticated depth finders that shows the fish. You can see the lure going down to the fish, and it spots fish in 270 degrees all around you. We found the fish where we've been catching fish, no surprise. So we put the stuff out where the fish was and to try to increase the habitat. So we put out 100, 2 different weekends, 3 or 4 days worth of work, and a lot of volunteers and a lot of help, and it's all been accomplished. And so anyhow, that's kind of what we've been up to on the lake.
Thanks, Huff. In regard to that same, as far as the streams go, and we're going to talk more about streams obviously this morning, but our streams are warmer, flow is down a little bit, temperature's up, dissolved oxygen has dropped a little bit, which is normal with this heat, and also the pH levels dropped a little, but it's still very healthy. They're all in the 6 and 5.0 levels, very little nitrates, very little phosphates, and so the streams are doing well, and they'll feed those fish and the lake and keep things healthy around those Christmas trees. So at this point, I know that there's only one area left that we haven't covered really, and that's of course Keep Entry Beautiful, which is Andy, who's recovering from his triple bypass, and he wanted me to let everybody know he really appreciates the prayers and support, and he's doing well, obviously. He was not dancing in here last night. He wanted me to make sure you understand he was here, but he was not dancing. And Marietta texted me and said that she would keep him in his chair, but that would be very difficult. However, he said thanks for the support in May and the work and help that he received to redo the landscaping and mulch. Marietta said that it's tough being a nurse for that guy, which you can all appreciate. And she couldn't be here either, but said, that obviously her role and the fundraising, she'd like to kind of step back from at the end of the year. So we're looking for people that would want to take her place in that area. She will work at Tamarack Treasures, but would like to step away. So keep that in mind as you go along if you'd like to help out. However, things are moving right along. Tamarack Treasures getting ready for the fall, and looking at possible storage situations that we can use to make it healthy and wealthy. So that's the report from Marietta and Andy. So at this point, are there any other questions about the committees or anything going on in the committees?
Brian,
Yep,
I'd like to say a bit about habitat conservation.
sure.
So that's one of our subcommittees within Lake and Wildlife, and in support of the community vision. Y'all probably remember the survey that was done across the community, and then we had a 5-year community vision created. And part of that will include a habitat conservation plan in support of our community vision. Now, it was clear in the community survey that everybody still values the natural environment. We still, as a community, are committed to our the foundation of Bentry, which was to leave a light footprint on our mountain. And so the Habitat Conservation Plan looks at the current situation, looks at our rules, the current status of our forest, the societal changes that have happened, you know, and just attempts to make suggestions for changes, tweaks, refinements, additions that will ensure we continue to support that going forward into the future, that we as a community continue the legacy that we had from our founding developer, Dean Spratland, which was to leave a light footprint on our mountain. Now, the Habitat Conservation Plan will be presented to the board for adoption within the next couple of months, with a lot of actions flowing from that, and it will be a long-term plan. So just to give you an idea of what is going on in that area. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dara. Yeah, it's actually two with your habitat work with the committee and then also with the ad hoc committee. So thank you, appreciate that update. So today's speaker, Lori Forrester, still works with the Cherokee Water area, and she's been in the Adopt a Stream program and a trainer for over 20 years. And she's also a board member of Upper Etowah Alliance, and also oversees education and the Adopt a Stream program and training, as I mentioned. And she grew up in Ohio, which is okay, right? And she currently lives right here in Woodstock. And as I mentioned, works with the Cherokee Water and Sewerage Agency in the Environmental Affairs Department. So she knows about the environment, she knows about water, streams, Upper Etowah. She has been an unbelievable resource for us to help us, to train us here. And we're all trained and certified by Lori in this Adopt a Stream program. So without any further announcements, I'm going to introduce Lori. She'll come up and then I'll get her presentation ready. Lori, welcome to Bentry again.
Thank you.
It is
Thank
working.
you. Is it working for us? Well, good morning, everyone. We were just talking, I think I did my first Adopt a Stream training in this very room. I think we figured out it was 5 years ago. Yeah. And so it's kind of neat to come back to the same place and just to see the level of work that has come from this group, from just showing up to train on Adopt a Stream. That's not normal. In my work over 20 years, sometimes you walk into the room and you train 5 or 10 people and they never adopt a stream, or and then others, you know, they take it on like this group and do so much with it. So it's really inspiring to know what a group of people can do with some basic skills and what it develops into. And so today I want to talk about not only Georgia Adopt a Stream and Upper Etowah River Alliance, but kind of how it all kind of works together, and kind of why we pull it together and what it means to have people working together in our watershed. There we go. So start off with the Upper Etowah River Alliance. To kind of make it. It's where I started with the Upper Etowah River Alliance. I've been working on with them for over 20 years as well. We are about Adopt a Stream and have been doing Adopt a Stream as a main program from the moment I stepped in the door with the Upper River Alliance. But it's not just about that. It's also about education, and we educate little kids, older kids, big kids, about the environment. And so we have a lot of fun with that. This event in the top corner, this was an Earth Day event in Dawsonville, like 2 years ago. This was one of our most current trainings. This was in the Dawson County Library. We have this new program about teaching kids about stream water quality and beavers and wildlife, and how them working together is equivalent to us as a community working together, how we kind of have to meet everybody's needs that need to be met for a happy community, for a good stream. And so teaching them at 3, 4, 5, I feel like makes them a better community member. And one of these days they're going to be sitting in a room just like this, talking to the people they live with and working with them to make a better community. So we work, the Upper Red River Alliance works in a 5-county area, and I have these maps over on the table if you want one of these later. But we work in this huge area, so you can only imagine an organization trying to accomplish something in so many different counties. Our watershed starts off in way up in above Dahlonega in Lumpkin County, and we focus all the way down to Allatoona Lake. So there's a lot of space there, and so we work with groups such as here, and we've worked with Big Canoe, and we worked with people way up in the headwaters of the Etowah River, and so we kind of span out, but there's about 10 of us on the board, 10 or 11, 12 now. Mary Sorensen, who's with me today, she's our newest board member. And we just pulled in 3 new board members, which is fantastic for us because there's a lot of work to be done. And we obviously need board members from all 5 different counties because there's a lot of space to cover. And so just happy. It's just a great group of people. The best way to describe the Upright River Alliance is we do a lot with a little. There's not a lot of money, not a lot of time, not a lot of people, but we make a big impact with very little, and always been very proud to be a part of it. Georgia Adopt a Stream is the other major program. So to make the connection, Georgia Adopt a Stream is a statewide program. So it's actually run by Department of Natural Resources. And so it's like the main program, but it wouldn't happen without that. We need that base, but without small organizations such as the Upper River Alliance monitoring, supporting that program, it wouldn't happen in those communities. So the Upper River Alliance puts out the money for the test kits, for the training, and all of that to make sure that this program goes around within our watershed, within our counties. And so that's kind of how it works. There's multifaceted organization. It includes everything from the different types of monitoring to river cleanups, everything you can think of that's kind of happening here is a part of that. And so one of the first things is visual survey. And this includes a lot of things that this group is actually doing. A lot of organizations don't take on the visual stuff. We're talking about bank pins where it's just like a piece of a piece of metal that you put into the bank, higher and lower, and then you measure how much erosion over time. And then measuring stream flow and measuring the depths of the stream channel, like how deep is it across. It's a lot of work to do some of these programs. And so a lot of times people don't take them on, but I'm proud to say this community has definitely taken it on. This graph right here, this picture right here I found is actually not from here, but it's another group that has been doing monitoring for over 20 years. And they, for Two Knot Creek down in Cherokee County, and they've actually done the stream channel assessment, they've done bank pins. There's few and far between that do this extensive work. And so what you can see over time is actually amazing with this, with all these different programs and all these different things you can do just with visual. And this also includes habitat assessments and things like that as well. Then you have your chemical and bacterial monitoring. So your chemical monitoring includes, we've talked about a little bit this morning, dissolved oxygen, pH, air and water temperature, your conductivity. I think they do alkalinity. We have your nitrates, your phosphates. So you can do a lot of things with these test kits. It gives us a lot of really good information. A lot of times people look at a stream and they're like, oh, it looks healthy. But it makes a much bigger impact, just like this morning when you're talking about DO's down a little bit, which is normal. Temperatures are up. You know, it just puts a lot more information behind what we see when we do chemical monitoring. If we have high nitrates, it really makes you can start looking for where that comes from. If you have high phosphates, so that's one of those things that the more you do with chemical monitoring, the more information you have, you have that backing of, well, we need to do this project because of this information. And just because everybody in the Adopt a Stream group didn't go to school and doesn't have a degree in chemistry and biology doesn't take that away. Like that, the whole idea of Adopt a Stream is a volunteer monitoring program where you can take these tools that we can give you and you can produce good data. And that's why they get recertified every year. They have to take that test again to make sure that they still know how to do these tests. And that's good for us as trainers to make sure everybody's up to date. It's good for the people doing the volunteer work so they can come to a group like this and talk about their data with confidence and know that they're getting re-educated and updating all that information. The bacteria program, you guys are really lucky with this, with your group, to have a connection of somebody that bacteria is what they do. So that lab that they have, that he has, makes it a lot easier. As volunteers, the group could collect the samples, come into a room such as this, and have like an egg incubator like you have for chickens, and you could put the plates that look just like this up there. You can put it in there, and you could get your results. And those are plates from this community, from our Bacteria Day, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, from like 2 years ago. And so those were the 5 sites that we did, 4 sites. I think now there's 5. There might actually be 6. But those were the sites that we had, and they were part of Bacteria Day. But those are the plates that the program uses. But it's great to have a connection of a certified lab to do those as well. So that's where the community having that, those connections, those partnerships with other people that have the expertise makes a big difference. And plus, it makes a huge difference financially as well, because the most expensive part of Adopt-A-Stream is that. Those plates, bacteria plates, are not cheap. So not having, especially with 6 sites, anywhere from 4 to 6 sites, that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of plates.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure people really connected this to practical situations in the community. So for example, with the chemicals and the nitrates and phosphates, that would tell us if we had an issue with fertilization, either from residents in fertilizer or from the golf course. And it's so great to know that with the type of fertilization strategies that are used on the golf course and John Leach's leadership, that we don't see a lot of runoff into our streams of nitrates and phosphates. And so, and also on the bacterial, I don't know if you didn't want to mention Danny Day is the connection that we have in the community, and so thank him if you see him because he takes the water samples. But we have so many people who question, gosh, they see geese at the beach and they wonder, is it safe for my grandkids to swim, or should I go in the lake in the beach area? And so he's doing the bacterial monitoring. And also, if we had a failed septic system, for example, on in a home that was adjacent to a stream, we would see the results of that. And my understanding is way before I was involved, but there was something at the Young Life camp upstream from us on Long Swamp, and there had been a septic system issue. And we were able, that was picked up through monitoring in Long Swamp Creek coming down. And so those are some of the practical reasons. It's not just this abstract data point that doesn't have any significance to our lives. These are what we could identify. And by having it regularly done, it'll show us.
Yeah. And with the amount of data that's been collected, because you can't tell anything from, okay, I monitored for 3 months. It doesn't really tell you much. But the if you get like a good, you get a year in and then you add to that year and then you add on top of that, you start to see those trends, and that's what we're looking at. I normally see this every month, and now, okay, this isn't normal. And then maybe you can even tell, is this normal for summer? And then you can go back to last summer and say, it is normal for summer, or it's not normal for summer. And so having the amount of information that we have is really, really helpful. Next is my favorite one, macroinvertebrates. You either love it or hate it. Macroinvertebrates are so much fun. They tell us so much more than even dissolved oxygen's a good test, but life is a better test. And so here in this community, you guys are so lucky to have the streams are healthy. I mean, the stoneflies, I can't really tell from that picture, but you have huge stoneflies, and that Dobson fly is he's pretty big. He's probably about 4 inches long. Big Dobson flies, and pick up rocks. I tried to find a picture of the water pennies that you have here, but water pennies are only found in the best water, the most oxygenated water, and we've picked up rocks here and had 4 or 5 water pennies on a rock, and we're like, ooh, So such exciting macroinvertebrate work. It's so much fun to come up here and do macros. It's a great, when we're doing, stream days with kids, like showing them the living, moving things is always so exciting. This is just from one of the sites that I pulled up the water quality index we got this from starting in 2022. So the lowest score on that one is 17, which is still in the good category. So if that's your lowest at 17, I'll take it. And so Another thing that's great about Adopt a Stream is that it does this for everything. For every parameter, it will show you your trends for every site. So you pick DO or pH or temperature, conductivity, and it will give you a graph. And so it's really good stuff. If you're like me, like tracking information in a notebook, some people are that organized. I'm not. Just not. Adopt a Stream has it all for you and lays it out in Excel form. It lays it out in graph form. So you just do the work, enter the data, and if you need to refer back to it, you know where to find it. And so what Adopt a Stream has led to, and I don't take any credit for this because it's this fantastic community right here that's, made all that happen, stream restoration. This is amazing that this community has taken, the information you've collected from Adopt a Stream and the surveys you've done, and then actually restored a stream to make it healthier for the macroinvertebrates. And that is, I don't know, it's fantastic. I don't know, there's not a better word for that. And so I applaud this community for doing that for your streams. And you're not doing it for yourselves, because everything is connected. We are a watershed. So anything you do up here is positively affecting us downstream. And so this project turned out really good. When I first came out to this site, the banks were kind of straight up and down, like things. It was too much. It was a lot of water coming in, and the banks were getting tore up. And even though you're not in a situation like they are, like where I'm in Woodstock, where Little River is, like banks are 10 or 12 feet high. It wasn't that bad, but up here it shouldn't be that bad. So protecting the headwaters in the streams up here makes a huge difference. So that will make an overall impact on this community and our watershed as a whole. And more of these stream restoration projects are going to be excellent anywhere in our watershed that we can make those happen. Our banks being a little bit flatter, and not being cut away from the water moving so fast downstream.
Is that picture from here?
Yeah, the picture's from here. Yep.
This is Coffee Cove, right down here, right on camera.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, just really good work. And if I follow the story right, it was the project lead was an Adopt a Stream person. Did you meet him at the confluence?
I did, yeah, Jack White.
Yeah. So he met Jack at a Georgia Adopt a Stream confluence, one of our big annual meetings. And if you guys ever, it's such a fantastic conference. A lot of fun, very laid back, but it's all about frogs and, macroinvertebrates, and we throw in some state law in there and from the state, and so we put a lot of things into it. And so it is in action. This Adopt a Stream stuff is in action in this community. I encourage you to join their team. They have taken on, I think we're up to 6 sites?
Yeah.
Up to 6 sites. That is incredible. And it's not even that it's taken on 6 sites, but it's 6 sites that covers the visual stuff. It covers chemical, the macroinvertebrate. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do 1 stream, let alone 6. And identifying those streams that need to be monitored. The The macro stuff is quarterly, so it's not every month. But any of you that have been part of that macro monitoring, it takes some time. This isn't just scoop up a sample and 10 minutes later. You're investing some time into it. So the more people, the more you can do, then you build up your expertise in those. Do I have my macro experts in the room?
We need younger eyes.
Where's Dara?
Yeah. So definitely. And so the reason that's the reason to kind of pull it back to the upper Etowah River Lions. The reason it's all so important to us as the Upper River Lions is because, I mean, this is from Adopt a Stream, and those are all the different sites that are in our watershed, and so it's not just about like the sites down there by Lake Allatoona. Like, we need to see information from all the way up to the very headwaters of the Etowah River, all the way down to Lake Allatoona, because it's all flowing there. And so without the different organizations and the different homeowners from all the way up the headwaters, east and west, and all the way down, we wouldn't have as big of a picture of the health of our streams that we do. And so, and the fact that it's all done volunteer time is amazing. It's amazing what we can do as just volunteers. And so, does anybody know what a watershed is? And my Adopt a Streamers that I've certified over the years. That's kind of cheating. But anybody else that hasn't taken my Adopt a Stream test, tell me what a watershed is? Okay, maybe one of my Adopt a Streamers. Okay.
It's all the land where water drains from the common point.
Yes. So a lot of people think it's just the water, but it's not just the water. It's the land and the water. And so you'll notice that up in Dahlonega, there's the Chattahoochee River as well. And there's one section where the Etowah River is here and the Chattahoochee River is here. And our watershed divide, is here, and it's based on elevation. So when it rains, and I always do this for the kids, if you put your hands together like this, and if we'd spray water, it would go down in the middle. And if somebody had their hands next to it, if you would spray, it would go into their hands, which would be another watershed. And so our watersheds are important, and our watersheds don't understand county boundaries, just like wildlife doesn't understand boundaries. And that's why we have to work together, because if one person has a plan, one county has a plan, and the other county has a different plan, then it doesn't really come together. And so some upcoming events that we have that I wanted to invite you to is Bacteria Day, which I mentioned earlier. This is one day, so it actually ends up being like 2 days, but just because of time constraints on people. But that we have people collect samples from all throughout the watershed. So from the very headwaters, that when I found that they were okay when I went back. So we did find some small issues, but nothing big. And the Etowah River itself, there was 10 different spots of samples from the Etowah River, and they were all really low. So a lot of people think the Etowah River they use the word gross, it's not healthy because it looks brown, and it is brown in some places. But bacteria-wise, E. coli-wise, the Etowah River really is in good shape. But we want to make sure that is the case. So that's why there's people that monitor every year or every month, like you do here. That's important. But then once a year we do like a big scan. It's like a checkup for the watershed for bacteria to make sure that we're not there's not bacterial issues going on. And we typically do it in the fall. Lots of people like to hike in the fall. And the temperatures are coming down a little bit, so we're of the Etowah in different places down the Etowah, all the way down in the Lake Allatoona. We have people collect samples, bacteria samples, and we bring them to our lab, and we plate all those samples, and then we compare results. And so we're looking for hot spots, and so because we're doing all of them at the same time, we can tell where the problems are. And so everything's should be under the same condition, ideally, unless you have like localized rains or something to that effect. But we compare them and we see where those spots are that maybe there's high bacteria. Last year when we did this, I found a couple places that had high bacteria, and I went back and did some follow-up stuff on it. They were very, very small streams that didn't, and so we're not in the height of the summer. And so it's a great time to do that. And so typically samples are contributed from this community. However, we're always looking for volunteers, places outside of Bentry. If you want to grab the samples from here, and on your way back to my office in Canton, you want to pick up a few more, I'm sure I could identify some sites for you. And so it's a fun activity. If you know how to plate bacteria, I pull people to do that as well because it's a lot of plating. And then we read them, and then we do the interpretation, and I break it down by county, and so you can see how those numbers compare. And so I always put that stuff on our Upper Etowah Alliance group Facebook page. You can see those pages. Where I do kind of lack is making a map to put it all together, because you can imagine, like even with this map, it's just a lot of area. So trying to pinpoint your spots without zooming in, just like sites from this community, if you don't zoom in, they look like one big dot. And so trying to identify those out on a map is a little difficult, but you can see the difference in those numbers, and we can tell what sites are really good, what areas of the watershed are really good, what areas of the watershed are a little bit higher, and then storm drains make an impact on that, and that type of thing. Also, we have an Indian Seats hike. This is in Forsyth County, so it would definitely take you away from your community a little bit. But if you've never seen the Indian Seats in Forsyth County, it's a beautiful place. It has a strong history of Native Americans. Once you get to the top, over the view is fantastic. So that we're doing that hike in September. That's on our Facebook page. The cleanups are something we always do. Litter is never good for our streams. Litter is not good for our wildlife, and so we want to keep that out of our community, out of our streams. And so there is we're calling it our Upper Etowah cleanup. It's going to be up in Lumpkin County on October 5th. I haven't been to it, but everything I've heard about it, the people, he's another one of our new board members. They host the cleanup and they feed you afterwards, and not like just pizza that they order from Domino's, but like really good food from their like organic garden. So Great cleanup to go to. You get to see a really pretty part of the Etowah River, and do something good for the do something really good for the Etowah, because we don't want that trash coming down, because we have plenty of it in Canton, which we're going to be cleaning up on October 12th, meeting in Canton, and then we disperse everybody around Canton Creek, down the main trunk of the Etowah River River Park. So yeah, we have plenty of trash there. So we try to take care of that trash before it gets to Allatoona Lake. And we need lots of hands to make that happen. And then Allatoona Lake does their own cleanup. I didn't put it on here, but if you're interested in that, Allatoona Lake does their own cleanup, which is great. So within the month of September and October, the amount of trash that's removed from our watershed is kind of crazy. And it really we shouldn't have to remove that much trash, but the fact we do makes it so much better for our community, makes it better for our wildlife, makes it better for our streams, makes it better for when I'm paddling or hiking and not having to see it. So we make a really big impact when we do that as well. So I invite you to join us for any of those events that we have. Yep, that's my last slide. And there's so much more. I just didn't want to overwhelm you, but it's on our Facebook page, the stuff that we're doing. We want to expand up here more. So if there's, of something that we can do up this direction, it doesn't have to be in this community, in Bentry, but it can be within the county. If there's stuff that's going on that you think we'd be a good fit for, certainly reach out to us, because we want to be a resource, and we want to be seen within all of the communities as well. So I know it's a lot, but if you have any questions, I also want to mention there's all kinds of the equipment that they use is on that table over there. So like when you get up and move around, you can kind of look and see what you're dealing with. You see that this is nothing, it shouldn't look scary to you. It is all very basic kits that are understandable, that's easy to use, easy to understand, and you don't have to have a science background to be a water quality monitor. And and they've done a fantastic job.
Is there a problematic area or watershed that's, more, kind of at the top of your trouble list? Or
It's typically in areas that are more populated. The more storm drains you have feeding into the stream. In this upper area? Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. In this area, no, actually, we've had. It's been everything I've seen up this direction has looked really good, which is good. It's kind of boring to say it's good, but I like being able to say it's good. The stuff I see from Bentry is good. The stuff I see from like Lumpkin, Dawson is good. So there's nothing that has jumped out in the past 5 years that's been like a major issue. It might in the future, but that's why we have all this. That's why we're doing all the work we have now, because if something pops up, we can say, no, wait, it hasn't always been like this. And we have proof it hasn't always been like this. And we're prepared to provide data to show what it's been the past 5 years, the past 6 years. So that if somebody says it's not causing damage or making any worse than it's always been, we have proof that it hasn't always been like that. So, any other questions?
Before you go, Lordy, stay here for a moment, Kid.
Lori is a doer, and she goes out and she helps, and, you know, she hasn't got her boots on today for nothing. So, I want her to speak because she can speak in practicality, you know, what happens, what goes on, what's it really like. You don't have to be a scientist to do this, because I'm not. And it's great, but one of the major reasons is she does this, she trains us, she comes, she speaks, she helps, no charge. You know, this is Upper Etowah River Alliance that supports her and supports what she does. The main factor, and Dara went into some of that detail herself, which was good about, okay, what does this mean? The biggest thing I think that's most important she got to at the end, which is, okay, we do all this work, Mason, myself, David, Sandra, others, Kahn. What happens when there's an aberration? What happens when instead of 5, it's 18? What do we do then? It's Lori. She monitors this every month. Everything she sees, it goes through, and she sees, okay, where's the aberrations? And then it's up to them to come back and help us and say, okay, we're going to send our team in, and we're going to find out, is this really true? We're going to do it again and again. And then as part of EPA, as you say, you know, which is adopt a stream, you can enlist other resources to help us to intervene. Maybe you want to go into that just for a minute?
Yeah, so the idea with the state being overseeing that program is that they use this data as background data to identify problems. So I'm not saying that they're going to take your data and try to prove something with it, because they're going to come out and do their own. But they're going to say, I see that this has always been good, and now we're seeing the trend that it's not. I wonder what's going on. So they use this data to then go into a mode that's, let's investigate, let's see what's going on, what's upstream. And a lot of that, they depend on us as volunteers, including, you know, the adopt-a-stream groups and the nonprofits, to really show light and take pictures and that type of thing. But when we call them, we can say, this is what we see. And they can see the same data that we've collected, and that kind of puts some validity behind our concerns. But they may see it and be like, okay, there's clearly a problem here. Let's go look at this more. And so that's where it's really important, because I don't know if any of you know anything about Georgia EPD, but their staffing is very, very little. And so the people that think that the state can come out, can be everywhere, they can't. They can't be everywhere. They depend a lot on local government. They depend on a lot on people reporting issues and stuff like that. So when we really need them, they're here. But until then, they're going to let the local governments and the volunteers kind of do the investigation work, and then they'll come in when we need them. And they can see everything that you're doing, which I personally think makes a huge difference, because you do the work means you care. And so since you care about your community and you're doing the work, when you're calling in with a concern, they know that you are really concerned, not that you just see something and you think something's wrong. You actually know something's wrong. And so I find that they respond a whole lot better that way. And you have to know and you also have to know who to contact, because a lot of times there's problems and people contact the wrong people and get frustrated because nothing gets done, and it's just because that you haven't reached the right person. So you can always call me and I'll help you find the right person. But the first call should not be EPA. in any situation.
And it is, anything that we need, we call her. Even if we can't see what that macro is or whatever, we can call her and she can identify right away. Before she leaves, I just want to, for your help and attention, give you one of our Stream Keepers t-shirts for the summer. This is our new summer edition. Thank you for all you do for us. Appreciate it, Lori. Thank you for coming today. I know it's been a rough week.
The chair.
Oh, yeah. Leave the chairs here, yes. There is a wedding reception this afternoon, so we can leave the chairs and tables right where they are. Again, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Have a great week. Lori, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.